Redditors who lost a romantic partner to an illness, suicide, or accident. What was your first relationship after their death like?
I lost someone I was dating for 2 years. My first relationship afterward was about a year later and I thought I could handle it, but it was a lot tougher than I expected. In hindsight, I was a lot needier than I ever was in the past and wanted to spend every moment with the girl. I also became a much more cynical person overall and drank much heavier than I ever had for a long time, which carried on into the next relationship where I would at times drink until I blacked out and caused some serious arguments, for good reason. 4 years later and I think I'm in a good spot. I'm in a different relationship and don't have the same issues. I also don't drink anymore except for the occasional beer at a restaurant. The best advice I can give to someone going through this is talk to someone. I kept it all to myself, despite numerous people reaching out, because I thought I could handle it. I had a boyfriend who died in a car accident. I started dating the next guy about 6 months after. It was way too soon, but I was young and in a really bad place mentally, and he was incredibly manipulative and would use that fact to his advantage. He convinced me that I needed him in my life in order to heal, and he was the only one who truly cared or could help me. He was very abusive in all ways imaginable, and it took me moving 1,600 miles away to a place only accessible by boat to finally get away from him. Wishing you peace in the future, Op. My first girlfriend would constantly threaten suicide whenever I wanted to break up, because she was controlling and occasionally violent. After I broke up with her for the last time, she actually killed herself a few months later. I've been in relationships with 3 women since then, yet always kept my distance while resenting them for not really knowing me. I think everyone I date for a long time will never know how loving I can be, because I have to keep myself closed off just in case. I always aim not to get in relationships at all. I feel like the way she died means she will always eclipse everyone else, which she would have loved. This is gonna be kinda long. My stepdad lost his first wife and the mother of his children to suicide in 2008-ish. He started dating my mom, my parents got divorced in 2000, in 2011, married in 2014. He has 2 daughters and my mom has me and my brother. My older stepsister is 6 months older than me and my younger one is 3 months older than my brother. At first all of the sibs were very against this. The girls, because they didn't want him to forget their mom, and my brother because he doesn't like my stepdad and has trouble accepting that our dad isn't in our lives. I was the only one who was fine with it. My older stepsister eventually came around to my mom, especially because my mom was the one who got her properly diagnosed with Asperger's and got the right help. The younger ones still aren't happy with the arrangement, but aren't as angry as they were. As for my parents, my stepdad has quite a lot of trouble opening up and expressing himself. My mom got him to see a therapist, which helped, but it took him several appointments to even talk about anything. My mom has to remind him to relax and take breaks, and he helps her since she has chronic migraines. I think that it's good for both of them. They have season tickets to baseball games, and helped each other a lot when they had 4 hormonal teens running rampant in the house. It was a rough road for a while, but now all of us kids are out of the house and they seem to be much more relaxed and can enjoy each other's company. Not me personally, but a good friend of mine lost her longtime BF of an overdose. Just from an outsider's perspective, I noticed she was a lot more distant and standoffish with the first few relationships, and it broke my heart. She would call me and cry about feeling guilty, so she would fall for anyone and everyone and then cut it off with them before they could be gone first. Fast forward few years later, she's been with the same dude a little over a year now. Still think she has a lot to work out personally, but she's getting there. My first relationship after, I was super clingy at first. Would also tell him how much I loved him, got engaged within 6 months, didn't get married, did as much as I could to distract myself from negative thoughts. Then I started to get angry, tell him that he just wants to leave me anyway, and question why he would love me. After 3 years, we kind of fell apart and tried an open relationship. He did stuff I didn't and it drove us apart. We broke up after 4 years. Relationships after that, those two, I always kept a wall up and even still have a wall up more than 15 years after losing my first boyfriend to a car accident. I try to protect myself in case something happens and have become annoying independent. It makes for a very lonely relationship because I just feel like I can't really give 100% else I'll get destroyed. After some time has passed, I do feel like everyone leaves eventually, whether it's death or people just changing, and that's how I approach my life. Very few people get close. Deleted. I took time off from dating for a while before getting back in. But even still, I ended up jumping into a relationship and it was super unhealthy. Definitely should have taken more time. I was still pretty unhealthy and couldn't be in a functioning relationship. She was an alcoholic that ended up overdosing on drugs, the one that passed, so it left me with some things that I needed to figure out, which I didn't figure out I needed to figure out until after the next few relationships. Very subdued. I was kind of desperate for a new relationship to fill the hole. The next real relationship I got into was a lot of me figuring out how to have a real adult relationship with trauma. My BF died when I was 18. I honestly don't remember a lot of it because of the PTSD. Wife passed recently. I wasn't looking to date, or maybe I was. I put up a profile on a dating site, then disabled or enabled it 10 times before just changing it to say I am not really ready to date and just want friends, then promptly ignored it. A week or so later someone messaged me who seemed genuinely wanting to talk and not just looking for a hookup. Messaged back and forth for a week before meeting. I think this may be my first friends with benefits situation. She has made it clear we are not a couple. Yet we message each other or talk pretty much every morning, every evening after work and before bed. No L word used or anything like that though. I am happy with this for now. I still miss my wife. I think I always will. She would have wanted me to be happy. I don't feel guilty. I tell myself that every successful marriage ends with one spouse watching and caring for the other spouse as they die. It hurts still. I still have all my wife's stuff. I am not ready to do anything with it yet. I know I am not ready for a serious relationship. My ex-fiancée did not pass away, but she vanished, by choice, with no warning, explanation, or obvious reason. She just up and left one day, and closed all means of communication without ever saying goodbye. I was ghosted after 3 years living together, and 2 years engaged. For me, there was no objective difference between that and her death, except made worse by the fact that all I knew was that she chose to be apart from me out of her free will. In short, it left me broken inside for a very long time, and even now I'm still healing. 2 years later, I am 1 year into my first relationship after that breakup, and I am trying to take it slow. My new so is patient and accepting, and knows about what happened to me. But I'm more fearful, clingy, and less generous than I used to be. I worry sometimes that my lingering abandonment fears and insecurities will one day push her away. The way I feel love now is also changed. Love doesn't come as naturally anymore, it is more of a conscious choice and continued effort to cultivate good memories and build something together. In one way, that is more real since it's something we work on every day, but I still feel sad inside that I can't seem to recapture the passion of my first love and how easy it was to give my body and soul to someone else. This is a tough one for me. I found my ex's body in her room. The relationship after was weird. I was always on edge and felt uncomfortable leaving her alone, despite knowing she wasn't suicidal. Simply put, everything was making sure that didn't happen again. BF I lived with and eventually became engaged to died pretty quickly, sick smo, and fucking horribly. It never even showed up on his skin, to melanoma in his 30s. I was in my 20s. It destroyed me and I will never recover and never stop missing him. Even almost 10 years later and in a good relationship, it was horribly traumatic to see the love of my life suffer so much and eventually die right in front of me. I'll never get over it, and the happier and more innocent person that I was died with him. I mourn both of us. I slept 15 hours a day for 6 months and then cried when I used chatroulette to connect with a stranger for a C+. Ended up dating a friend type dude for a bit that I wasn't that attracted to but felt like he was a good, safe dude. He was from another country and knew my late BF online. He'd never been with anyone before. Ultimately we both knew it wasn't going anywhere, but he flew from another country and stayed in my place for like 2 weeks, which was a crazy weird time. We are both happy, in long-term relationships with different people now and totally faded from each other's lives and don't contact or interact anymore. I don't even check his social media or think about him much.